Oh, hello. Practice Santeria. It's not bad looking. Hmm.
Adam, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Oh, holy cow! I'm sorry, guys. I went through a whole spiel, and uh, and I was having major difficulties here. I'm so sorry.
It ain't easy being guapo.
Yeah, what the heck is going on here? I thought it was all set up. Hey, listen, guys, I apologize for the technical difficulties there. I went on a whole spiel talking about Chongo and everything. I don't know if anyone even heard that. No one did.
No one heard it. Let's hear about Chongo.
All right, well, here's what we're gonna play the video again. Are we? No, we're not gonna play the video again. You guys have seen it. However, I will show you the campaign page. Jeez, I feel so stupid. I can't believe that happened.
That's all right. Roll with it. Chongo wouldn't hear any of this.
Yeah. All right. So we got Chongo, the Broken Veil Act 1. Oh my gosh, I'm still kind of like flustered about that. All right. Listen, we got the campaign. You know what? Screw it. I'm gonna play the video again.
Play the video. It looked good.
Yeah, you just couldn't hear a thing. See, he's
hear
not
it.
even a moderator. I don't know. He would have told me, Caesar, you're not. Where are we here? All right.
Reuben is plagued by the ability to see demonic entities since the age of 6. Now, as a teenager, he looks to be rid of this burden once and for all. But is it a curse or something more? Chongo, the Broken Veil.
All right. So that's Chongo. Hey, listen, once again, I'm gonna apologize. I feel so stupid, but yeah, that's Chongo, the Broken Veil.
Very cool.
Thank you, Adam. So, like I said, we're bringing original ideas and concepts to comics right now. Okay, we got my project, Chongo, the Broken Veil, and it's Caribbean demons and entities and stuff like that. This is not like a normal thing, but we're bringing it out there. We're putting it out there. I got 8 backers right now. I'm at 9% funded. That's okay. We got 42 days left. All right. Wednesday night, I'm going to be on Crowdfunding Comics with Now Scala. I'm so honored to be on that show. Billy Tucci is going to pop in from the road, but we're going to have a special guest host on that night, and that's going to be Mr. Ethan Van Sciver. Yes, Mr. Ethan Van Sciver from Cyberfrog fame. And yeah, we're going to be learning a lot about Chongo. We're going to learn a lot about, the things that I've done and that sort of thing. But you know what? Not only do we have Chongo, but we also have College of the Dead. What is College of the Dead, guys? Listen, College of the Dead is another original concept. Hey, listen, Robert Kirkman hung up his zombie shoes, and he's done. He's not telling any more zombie stories. But it doesn't mean that all the zombie stories have been told, right? We've got College of the Dead by Adam Post, who wants to bring you new zombie stories. And what is he doing? Oh my gosh, 140 total pages of zombie stories right off the bat. That's crazy. Listen, right now the campaign is at 27% funded. We're at 1350 with 21 backers. We got 10 days left. We can make this happen. But Adam, do we have a video here to play?
It's really just me talking about it.
Okay, so why don't we do that? Let's hear a little bit from you, and then we'll go in a little bit deeper as we go on through the evening.
Yeah, absolutely. You did a good job describing it. And it is 27% funded, but it's a flexible goal.
You're a veteran of publishing comic books and creating characters and stories, and this is my passion project. Adam Post's College of the Dead. Teachers and students fight for their lives as the dead eat each other and everyone else in sight. It's 140 pages, all the art's completed, and all books will be delivered before Halloween, October 2019. Check out College of the Dead, look at the pages, look at the art. You will love it.
Awesome. Hey, listen, let's take a look at some of these tiers here. All right. What are we looking at here? Number one, we already spoke. We have 140 pages, guys. That's crazy. So we got. Actually, we'll let Adam talk about that. What's this?
Sure.
What's this first perk here, buddy?
So that first one is the 140-page graphic novel. And again, on our funding goal, it's a flexible goal. So we're, as far as we're concerned, we're fully funded for whatever we need. So everybody who orders it is going to get it, and they're going to get it before Halloween 2019. So they're going to get it early October. So we want to sell as many as we can so people get to see the really cool story and art. But as far as we're concerned, all the art's done. All the files are ready. Everything's good to go. We just want as many people to get to see the cool book as possible. So the first perk is the comic book and the ash can. And the ash can is a 100-page book that has the full script and the pencil layouts. The pencil layouts were not published in the graphic novel. The pencil layouts were published, were only produced to show the script so the artist could show the writer and me how everything was kind of coming together. I created the concept. I work with my writer. I work with put together all the creative teams when we do this kind of thing. And it's so cool to make the comics. It's so interesting to see the stuff come together that I started working with the format. I was like, you know what? We should do an ash can of this so people get to see how a full script, really well written, really professionally written, and very well laid out, actually kind of comes together. So it's if you like the property, most people are getting the comic book with the ash can because they kind of want to, I assume they want to see how the whole thing really pieces all together. It's very educational too.
Yeah, that's amazing. Listen, guys, you guys don't understand. If you're a process junkie, if you're an artist, or if you're just one of these people that wants to know how comics are made and how they're put together, because hey, maybe you have a dream of putting a comic together. I'm telling you right now, this ash can that he's talking about, this thing is a gem. You're talking about original pages from the script. You're talking about the layouts, the pencil layouts. You get to see the rough stages of what the penciler was thinking of in laying out and telling his story before you start seeing finished pencils and inks and colors. That, guys, listen to me. That's a pretty awesome deal right there, all right? And Adam is right. Very educational. That's a great get right there. All right, let's go to this next perk right here.
Yep. So the next perk is just the comic book by itself. If you just want to really read the cool story, I have more than 10 pages, maybe 12 pages of story and art, even listing when you page down a little later. But the complete set at the bottom includes the ash can, the graphic novel, and a special art book that we made. Because when we made this book, we made all the panels equal sizes, and the panels are actually featured 2 panels per page. So what that left us with was, and I'd never done this before. I've actually published many comics before, and I'll talk about that later, but we've never done it before this way where the panels were the same size. And it reads like a movie. It reads very smoothly and very cool, and the writer is excellent. But what we wound up with was we had all these large panels of art, and I was like, this art is just beautiful. And it's cool to see the art like at full size without all the lettering on it. So what you have is a square book that's like 8 by 8 inches, black and white, and like 220 pages that just show all of the panels that are in that graphic novel. That was another one of these like little things that I was like, this is just too cool to not do this. But it's definitely for the people that are like really into the concept of College of the Dead and really want to see everything. And they can. That set is $85 plus shipping, and that's also all going to ship together. That book is already made as well. I'm very big on just like everything's got to be delivered that's being promised, and it's got to be on time. If you're doing a masterpiece like Ethan Van Sciver did, and it's like a once in a lifetime creation, sometimes those things do take a little bit more time. Back in the day, Image Comics, when they started out, they were late on a lot of their stuff, but it was some of the most like groundbreaking industry stuff. My stuff is great. It's very cool. So like what you were saying, Caesar, it really is like the next generation of zombie stories. This is really my zombie world. There are a lot more stories that are going to come out of the College of the Dead zombie world. But we are going to ship everything on time because absolutely insist on it, or even really early.
Wow, that's fantastic. Listen, guys, $85. You're getting 140-page comic. You're getting the ash can that is not only is it the story itself, but it's also education. It's like going backstage. That's what it is. It's like
It is. It's like those extras in the DVDs that are like,
yeah,
oh my God, I know about this and nobody else does.
exactly.
Very cool.
And then the art book. You know what? For $85, I'll be honest with you, Adam, you're giving this away, but hey, you know what? That's going to just benefit anyone who supports this campaign at this level. That right there, that's a beautiful tier. All right, that's awesome. Hey, okay, so Adam, all right, let me go over here. All right, let me open up my art tab here.
Sure.
And, I'm gonna go quickly to the. I'm gonna go quickly over here to the chat. I want to say hello to Rabbit Comics, who has joined us. Also, Lady Celtic, thank you for popping in. I see Tank Ferret. Tank Ferret is also here. What's up, Tank? So good to see you. Glad that you could come and join us as we talk about the new age of zombiedom. And Lady Celtic is saying there was a problem early. Oh, heck yeah, there was. I basically went on a beautiful 12-minute rant, and absolutely no one heard it but me. So I had to do a redo, and I'm sure I bungled that. So
I could tell it was good. No, the redo is good. Your project looks great. It's really interesting. And I was hitting you up before about honestly kind of do you know who Chongo is in the religion? There's a lot of very interesting history there. A close friend of mine was very familiar with it and educated me a little bit. So it's a fascinating world. It's a world like nobody's ever seen. So, and it looks like you're exploring a lot of interesting things with that kid.
We are, and I'm drawing the pages and kind of really unfolding a lot of this sort of thing, especially like what these gods do, what they're all about, and so that's been one of
we get more than just Chongo. Do we get Yemaya Legua?
Well, we're going to introduce these, but we're introducing like just these different characters. But listen, as much as
you want to give it all, you don't want to give it all away too quick.
I don't want to give it all, but
but you got just one thing. You know how I am, Caesar. You got somebody who knows. Like I don't know where your background is, exactly where you come from, but as long as you're using this stuff and you're using it, and people who are very familiar with Chongo and Elegua, and that they're cool with what you're doing, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, like you got a Santero somewhere that's like, yeah, you're good, man, you're good.
Yeah. I'm not going super deep. Okay. The story is basically PG plus. All right. It's what we're calling a dramedy. It's more about the relationship between the mother and the son, and there's a little redemption arc put in there as well. So we'll discover that in the book. That's why I really want to put this in people's hands, because it really is interesting. Ben did a great job putting the story together. We talked for a long time. Trying piecing this together, and there's some reality based in this, and I like I said, I really don't want to give it away too much, but there is some let's say when it says based on such and such,
Mm-hmm.
I have
okay. I know, but if other people who know who Chongo is know what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Yeah, let me just give a quick hit over to the Unbreathable Skunk Girl, who's giving us an aloha here right now. And Tank Ferret says that College of the Dead looks fun AF. Oh my God.
It is, man, it is.
Fun AF. Heck yeah. All right. And then that's it. We're all caught up with the chat right now. All right. So listen, right now I really have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just kind of laying something out real quick. But we're gonna find out.
To watch somebody draw. You know, for those of us that can't draw, they just watch like a couple of pencil lines, all of a sudden becomes a cool character.
So, so listen, you at the beginning of our little conversation here, when you were giving your explanation, you were basically saying something about 30 plus years. Listen, I'm a 25-year, been grinding in the indie scene, underground horrors. My first comic I did was, you know, a tattoo guy that decided he wanted to make comics and opened up his own publishing company, One Shot Press, and did a Tales of the Crypt style comic called The Captain's Jolting's Tales in 1991. And, you know,
All right.
Yeah, so
Pretty back in the day. That's back in the day.
back in the day, that was my first comic, you know, and I did 3 issues of that, and I even got to see my comic and my artwork in Chasing Amy movie.
Oh,
That was really cool.
really cool.
Yeah, that was really. I found that by accident. And then, you know, just kind of like grinding it out, doing these little side jobs and stuff like that. I have some stuff that some ads that I did in Wizard Comics when that was a thing.
Yeah.
Stories were featured in there when I was with Dark Moon Productions, and I did a couple comics with them. Yeah, so, you know, you're just grinding. You're like underneath that level. And so people know who I am just because I've been around for so long, and I've met a lot of awesome people. I know a lot of pros, even though I haven't been quote unquote in the pro Marvel type thing. But when you say that you've been in the comic industry for 30 years, I get that. You know, even if you haven't been a super well-known name, you know, there are people that are just putting comic because they love to do. What else are they going to do? They love it and they just do it. You know,
when you love it, you got to do it. And those are the people that you do want to support because you want them to keep doing it. I'm getting back into doing it. I really haven't put anything out. The last thing I put out was, you know, could have been 99 or something like that. The first thing I put out was inspired by Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And I was a comics fan, and I was buying comics back in the day. And that was the early 1980s. I was a kid. And when I was 15, the Turtles were pretty hot. Black and white comics publishing was kind of booming. And I wound up like speculating and buying a bunch of black and white books. And I got this comic called Black Moon. I wound up with like 200 of them. And Black Moon was a black and white comic that was kind of a bad independent one shot that they put out basically just as a hustle to make money. But they were selling a lot of black and white books. Thanks to the Ninja Turtles, people were speculating a lot on those books. So they buy a whole bunch of them and whatever. And I got them directly from a distributor. I thought I was slick, but I got the books and was like, this isn't good. And by the time I looked at it, I was like, you know what? This thing is so lousy, I could probably do just as good. So I was 15, and I had a really cool idea for a parody comic called G.I. Jackrabbits. And G.I. Jackrabbits was basically a parody of G.I. Joe. It was a little different. And I figured, like, you know, I bought them. I bought comics, but, like, how the hell do you publish and distribute them? So in that copy of Black Moon, there was an ad for a company called Solson Printing out of Brooklyn. Called those guys, and they're like, oh, yeah, we print comics, and we could distribute your comic, too. So I went and saw them, and long story short, basically, they solicited off of our cover art G.I. Jackrabbits #1 and another book that never wound up getting published because they didn't put it out called Ninja Masters #1. Which is always a cool title.
You know, I love the names back in the 80s and 90s. You know,
well, names are crucial. You know, names are crucial. So you want names. You know, it can't just be descriptive. It has to. When you pick a name, it has to resonate, and it has to be memorable, and it can be related to something else, but it also needs uniqueness. Like College of the Dead is actually a really good name. And names is one of the things that I'm pretty good at. And I have some other buddies that are really good at names too. And then I have some other friends that are just like awful at names. So you've got a name of a concept, and then you've got like the actual high concept itself. Like, what about it sounds cool? What about it sounds sexy? That's very important. So, you should be able to ideally, you come up with a name that the name sounds cool, and then the high concept that's attached to it when you're, the elevator pitch, when you're describing it, should be enough that people are like, yeah, I'm really interested in that. Let me know more about it. If it doesn't have that, then you're really having a hard time. But what's funny is I found that people that are very good at writing are not necessarily very good at the concept part, or the naming. And so I've worked with some really very talented people and, industry professionals, and we've worked on some things together, and I'll come up with a high concept and the name, and they'll be like, that's a great concept. When it gets to the story part, I really have to follow them a lot and then tell them, well, this is what I had in mind. And they might tell me, well, this is why it doesn't work. And, but very, very good at executing. It's almost like people that are good at being entrepreneurial, and then the people that are good at being managers. Once they know what needs to get done, then those manager guys can pick up very well and keep all the trains running on time. And sometimes you have to do both. So G.I. Jackrabbits came out. We sold like 15,000 copies. And then that company went out of business and didn't pay us. The book made it out. What's funny is a lot of people, like I mentioned occasionally, just, hey, G.I. Jackrabbits. And they're like, oh, yeah, I know what G.I. Jackrabbits was. Oh, I bought that. That was one of the first comics I bought. I mean, it happens like once a week or so now that I'm, in the game more and talking to people and showing them my stuff and my name's out there. And so a guy hit me up on Twitter. He's like, you're that same Adam Post that put out that? I'm like, yeah, G.I. Jackrabbits. So then I got back in 91. I published a line of biography comics called Personality Comics. So we did all the Star Trek people, a lot of sports titles, music titles, and we set up an art studio. I mean, it all went pretty quick, where the idea was like, well, how many books can we put out? How many books can we sell? How the hell are we going to get these books done? How are we going to keep them within budget? And I found someone who was a really good artist, but was also a good manager. And his name is Kirk Lindo. He published, after he left us, he published Vampirodica and Luxura. He's sort of in with the Brian Pulido crew. Not as big a seller, but he has a lot of people that like his Luxura character. So anyway, so Kirk studied under Will Eisner at Sequential Art School in New York City. So he really knew his stuff, and he was very good at managing the studio. So we put out Personality Comics. We put out a line called Spoof Comics, and those were hot girl parodies of famous superheroes. We did the original gender swaps.
Right.
So if you look up, do you remember Spoof Comics from back in the day?
It sounds vaguely familiar. I'm probably
Adam did 7 covers for us. We had Spider-Femme, Bat Babe, Jim Balin did Wolverbroad, later to be called X-23 by Marvel. I don't know where they got that from. Ethan says he created it, X-23. He said that in a live stream. But I mean, Jim Balin did do Wolverbroad for me in like 1992.
He's the original.
I mean, dude, Google it, Wolverbroad, and you'll be like, why is that not in print? I have that stuff close to getting ready to be reprinted. I may just do it right after College of the Dead. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Because people remember these. I mean, if people remember G.I. Jackrabbits, they really remember Spoof Comics. Super Babe, Dare Dame. You look up Adam Hughes or look up Dare Dame, D-A-M-E, from Spoof Comics. He did an off-the-hook, crazy, gorgeous cover for that, which was basically a female parody of Daredevil. I mean, what else do you need to know? By Adam Hughes. He had given me the idea to, and then we had a lot of other cool guys. Dave Johnson did a cover for us. Jason, I forget his name. Part of the whole Gaijin Studio gang. Kind of all those Gaijin Studio guys did some stuff for us. Kelly Jones. I had Kelly Jones.
You had Kelly Jones do something for you?
Swamp Thang. Thang. So I got the guy who does Swamp Thing doing Swamp Thing. What else do you need? And who did the interior of Swamp Thing? Alfredo Alcala. Crazy. Alfredo Alcala.
You just said you had Alfredo Alcala.
Swamp Thing. Thang. Google it, my man.
Oh my gosh. Do you know that I love Alfredo Alcala?
I think, I don't want to say it for sure without knowing for sure. This may be his last published work before he passed away.
Oh my gosh.
It may well be. Yeah. And I actually did a reprint of just that one book just to see how it would do on Kickstarter. And we sold maybe $600 worth of some of the reprint. I did a test hardcover version of it or whatnot. And Kelly is a friend on Facebook, and they're all, Kelly. I'm pretty much up with most of these guys, and you work with them. Back in the day, it was just great. They're super talents. So to pay somebody right to do a great cover is not a bad idea. I mean, I never thought like 25 years later or whatever, it would still be something that would be, so interesting. Who thinks that far in advance? But right. Yeah, so I've got to do reprints of these, like maybe 700-page trades, each with a Adam Hughes cover. And then if we go back and do it again, then we could. I don't even have room to use the Jim Balint Wilverbroad cover, which is kind of a shame because it's gorgeous. Jeez. Just so many covers. Maybe we'll do some alternate covers or something, man. I don't know. Yeah, so then after that, we decided to focus all our energies on doing a line of color science fiction comics. We had been talking to Jim Shooter right after he left Valiant 1.0. And we were talking about doing something with him because he's freaking Jim Shooter. And he was talking to some other guys, and he wound up going with those other guys. There was millions and millions of dollars available to him for that. We were doing okay, but not quite that scale. And so we set up Triumphant Comics on our own. And that was Chromium Man, which Adam Polina did for us.
Oh, I remember Polina. Really, really talented guy. Really neat style. Probably one of the most original styles around in the 90s. No one drew like him. And whenever you saw his work, you're like, that's Adam Polina.
That's Adam Polina.
Just was really, really, really good artist.
He went back. He's a friend on Facebook. He lives in I can't quite remember where he is. He's somewhere in the Far East now, like just living some cool spiritual life. But he is working with Valiant, this new Valiant, on I don't know which property it is, but I think the first issue is out already.
Nice.
And not a lot. So Chromium Man's another thing that I mentioned with Triumphant, and people they remember it. It's a memorable thing. We did. There's like 100. It's funny because each time I go at this, like when I'm publishing, like there's got to be hundreds of characters, and it's got to be like we got to do hundreds of characters, and it's got to be like a whole world. And like Spoof Comics has like about 100 different parody characters. And the thing with parody characters is, you're really only supposed to do like one publication. You make your statement, and that's it. So if you do parodies, it's not really the same as publishing your own ideas and your own characters. You really limit yourself. You really can't create merchandise based on parodies. You can't go and make toys. We can't make toys based on Wilverbroad. But I mean, you can create a new character out of something. But in any case, so that's was Spoof. Triumphant has like 140 unique characters. And that was optioned by Platinum Studios. And those guys are the comics, the film guys that did, Scott sold Men in Black first, and then he produced Cowboys and Aliens with Spielberg and those cats. And I knew Scott from back in the Malibu Comics days.
Right.
And they, it was interesting, Malibu, because they really, Image went with Malibu first to really get launched into their own company. And Malibu did all the promotion, handle all the production until they were ready to do it on their own. But those were really back in the days. And then Scott continued to work with Rob Liefeld when Rob Liefeld did Awesome Comics. So Scott's still out there hustling around. Very, very smart guy, very knowledgeable, and they have a really big intellectual property library. But, comics to film, it's sort of like you just do your own thing. You do what you're passionate about. I'm not doing comics to turn them into movies. If it ever worked out, that's fantastic. But for me, I like publishing the books. I like making the books as much as publishing them. Because
yeah, I see that because it's interesting just to kind of hear you talk about what's important to you, getting the book out on time, and all these things like that. And you're very passionate about that, and for a reason. Because it's in your DNA, really, and
you really want to deliver. The thing is I always say it with holding back a little bit because I never want to say it and ever disrespect the people that work so hard, to just draw one page and make something perfect in one panel. You have to do that. You have to deliver a quality product. You have to keep it to a certain standard. So it's hard because, like in the community of CG of Comicsgate, there aren't a lot of publishers. There's Ben Henderson is a publisher, so I can kind of relate to Ben. But everybody else is like self-published talent. Interestingly, Mike Miller used to self-publish. I forget the name of his company, but he's got some of those skills that he really understands, the production management side and things like that. So it'd be surprising to see Mike put something out late, for example. I would think he might never do that. But my point is, like, one of the reasons why it's my priority now is, I'm a little bit older. So you get a little older. I'm 49 now. So it's like, what? I want to make a promise. I want to keep a promise because the relationship, whether it's with one customer or another creator, whoever you're working with, the relationship is a tremendous currency. It really is more important than money. Being able to pick up the phone and call somebody or send an email and ask for a friend for a favor to get something done, or to sincerely go back to your customers and say, hey, we're only $1,000 away from our goal, or whatever it is that you need to get done. You can't do that if you don't treat people right. So if you promise to do something, at best you can, you really want to do it. And if you can't deliver, you want to tell people ahead of time and say, hey, I'm having a problem. It looks like we're going to be late with this or that. But I don't believe in that. But I also notice that, like, I want to produce books. It's one thing at a time. So, I actually have multiple projects I'm working on, but you really have to release your first thing and also deliver it before you're going to go and start making promises on a lot of other things too.
No, I definitely, I get that. And I totally agree with that, and one of the things that I do a lot of commission work and stuff that I sell a piece of art and stuff like that. And one of the things that I've done a lot of is whenever I ship a package, first of all, I package that thing well, because my thing is, if I buy something, a piece of art for someone, and it's delivered, I want to make sure that I get it in one piece, that the person that packed it does a great job. So I'm very meticulous in how I package my pieces that I'm shipping out to customers. And then once I know that is it's packaged well, the next thing that I do is, once I get that tracking number, which is great now, we're living in an age where you can track your packages online. Oh, yeah. Awesome. I will send that information to my customer as soon as I get it. So they're not wondering, oh, what, I wonder if it's coming. When is it going to be here? Has he even shipped it yet? That sort of thing. I want there to be absolutely no mystery. I want them to say, oh, well, Caesar did ship it, and and then they wait. They have that anticipation.
Yeah. And it's an estimated delivery time.
Exactly. And it's a beautiful thing, I just recently had a piece that was purchased by a customer, and he was blown away by the fact that that I did that.
That you send that. Yeah. What other freelancers send tracking numbers? I don't, not a lot, because a lot of stuff is delivered digitally, truth to be told. But if you're going to send a physical piece of artwork, yeah, absolutely. To be able to give someone a tracking number is significant. And that's great for building trust. All those things are important. And the same goes for every other kind of relationship. It's that currency of trust. If you find yourself thinking like, you know what, this is a commodity, I could always get another one, I'm going to just do it, I don't care. That's the wrong direction. And I've been through it, over the years. Like, who knows? I don't know how many comics I published. I don't know. I know we published 50 comics when we did Triumphant because they were all color and it's expensive to produce. But other than that, I don't know how many personalities we did. I believe we did 40 individual spoof comics. But I have no idea how many personality comics we did. I also did something called Angel Entertainment in the late 90s, which published something called Vampire Girls with art by Claire Albert. It was some earlier work of his.
He's mostly known as an inker. He inks. He was.
He's good.
Yeah, he was. What's it? The guy that does all the. He did that Aquaman run. Drawing a blank right now, but he's a great inker, and he's also an artist, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah, those Brazilian guys are really, really talented.
Yeah. There's some great guys out of Brazil. There's some really good guys out of Spain. There's great people everywhere, especially now. And but it's also like, is this person great for what kind of project it is, right? So you want to try to match the person to the project to the extent possible. Right now, we're looking at reviving G.I. Jackrabbits. We being me and all of my awesome friends that help me put stuff together. So, one of the things we want to see. I mean, G.I. Jackrabbits, the original artwork for the cover, very good, like excellent. I mean, even now, I had Kyle Ritter recolor G.I. Jackrabbits cover because it's like my first love creating that comic. And it looks gorgeous. It's fantastic. It's amazing. I love it. It's unbelievably cool. But for new work, I would go more in Ethan's direction of like Cyberfrog, where it's more hardcore, very detailed, heavy on action. And the characters for G.I. Jackrabbits were like anthropomorphic. We had a walrus, a couple of rabbits, and now I would go crazier, like with an octopus that had all sorts of guns and just high, like Rob Liefeld energy, just tremendous, super high energy stuff. So so producing stuff like that is more difficult because it's more it's just more demanding. It's very, very high end. But like with me, this is what you can do when you have friends is like, what? You can make anything you want to make as long as you're willing to pay people and as long as you figure out the right people for the project and the communication is excellent. With crowdfunding, people can do anything now,
Right.
And
right. Great. That's great. Hey, listen, so here's one of the things that I'm finding interesting here. So explain to me what you seem to have a very high skill level in is putting together the right grouping of people to get things done, which is it's a very unique ability because you have to be able to figure out, are these personalities working together well enough to get this project that I want done completed? So my question to you is, you have a very good organizational style and there's a great skill set in that. Do you also create yourself as well?
Probably yes to both those things. To give you an idea, what I look for. So I've come up with just think of probably the best way to describe. Okay, so I have another project coming after this one that I have artwork on, but it's not in a good position to show you. Well, easiest thing is just talk about College of the Dead because it's an easy reference for it. So for College of the Dead, I had the idea of like, all right, I want to do something with zombies. And then it just kind of occurred to me that like the cast of The Walking Dead, they're initially like they weren't college students, and college students like seem to be kind of a prime age group. And things that would be of interest to that, like when you first get to the point where, people are interested in horror but also like there's just like a lot of liveliness going on college. It's just like a lot of like people living and just doing stuff. But you also have like, potentially Gothic settings and interesting old buildings and things like that. And also it's a college is like its own self-contained world if it's a large campus. So I was like, all right, this would really be cool. College of the Dead sounds cool. And then I kind of, that you're going to have students and you're going to have professors. They're normally thrown together, but then they're going to be like in an especially stressful situation. So what's the group going to look like of the group of characters? Who's going to be kind of like the leader of the group? What kind of leader are they going to be? Are they going to be one of these like, let's do everything ethically and nice? Or are they going to be, cutthroat about what they're doing? And the leader of the main group of character winds up being very cutthroat. This female bald professor, and she has her reasons for being that way, but she is really hardcore cutthroat, and she manipulates students so that she herself and her daughter wind up okay. But the story is so well told by the writer Stefan. So I had that pretty much range of the concept of what I wanted to do, and then so if I'm going to hire a writer at this point in my life, and I recommend this highly to people, is if you can afford it, you hire someone who has street cred as a writer. Like they've done stuff that's good. Other people have sought them out and were willing to pay them money. You may not get someone like there's a whole range of costs that you need to pay people for, and people have to have availability. But the whole thing is, in terms of skill level, it's not acceptable to have like something that's not well written, because you think about it, everything starts from the writing. Actually, everything starts from the concept, right? So concept first, but okay, once you feel confident about your concept, the concept doesn't change. Now the writing has to be executed. After the writing is going to be art, it's going to be lettering, it's going to be coloring. If you have coloring, it's going to be printing. There's promotion, especially with crowdfunding, tremendous amount of promotion that goes on. Then it's fulfillment and delivery. It's like and then there's keeping all your promises to your customers, as well as anybody else that you made promises to along the way, paying everybody. So make sure it's well written. Is the point? Is like that's really and the concept is thought. So I hired Stefan to write it. He was a mutual friend with Jim Salicrup, who used to be the Marvel editor, and he's now great guy. And Stefan had the chops. So, we talked about how we were going to work, and what I try to do is if however they're going to work is anywhere in the realm of what I can accept, so that I know I'm going to get good work that essentially executes the concept well and delivers a good product at the end of the day, I'll work that way with that person, So Stefan was so professional to work with. We discussed the concepts and suggestions that I had with it. He did a great write-up that was like a 1-page outline that has some additional character history that did not make it into the book, but basically just shows where everybody's coming from. And this student had this relationship with her father, and that's why she leaves at the end. Not even the mother and the daughter that I was talking about earlier, the professor. She like leaves at the end of the story to go find her father to see if he's okay. But I know what her whole history is. It's just so eloquently done as a 1-page write-up. And then he would say like, all right, I want you to sign off on this. Tell me you're cool with this the way this is. And that gave me an opportunity to give him feedback. And then he would go and he wrote the plot for the rest of it, which is a bit more fleshed out, maybe 5 or 6 pages.
Right.
I was able to approve that. There was one change that we made. He had a better idea than I did, but it would have changed the concept a bit, where it would make it not, somebody had some control over the zombies and it looked magical or something, and it wasn't clear what the deal was. and that's cool. But to me, the word you have to suspend disbelief, which is crucial for me. Mike Barron as well. We had a nice interview the other night on my channel. Oh, that is one of the things I like to promote, AdamEveryday.com, as well as halfpricetucci.com. Halfspeedtucci.com will also go to my YouTube channel. It's pretty funny. But AdamEveryday.com. But anyway, yeah, so I was discussing with Mike Barron. I was so psyched because Mike was also like, suspension of disbelief is really important. That's like the number one thing. I'm like, oh, fantastic. I agree. He thinks I'm right. Yeah, because I love Mike's work forever. But anyway, my point is, yeah, so Stefan had a really good idea, but it's interesting to think about when you're creating characters and stories is like, look, you can't necessarily do good ideas, even if it makes something cooler. Why? Because you have to look at the overall package and say like, hey, wait a minute. What is this that we're trying to sell to people? And do we want them to wonder about the world at the end? Like, is this a world where, all right, there's a zombie apocalypse, like, and to me, that's a war zone. Same thing as being behind enemy lines. It's a freaking war zone. That's a zombie apocalypse. No magic, no stuff from alternate universes or spaceships or anything like that. Just it's a zombie apocalypse. You don't need to know. Kirkman was totally right about that with Walking Dead. We don't need to know why there's a zombie apocalypse. There's a zombie apocalypse. That's it. The rest is the human relationships. Anyway, so Stefan had a very cool idea, but I was like, please don't do that because I just want my people. I don't want people reading this to not know this is a zombie apocalypse taking place on a college campus with some very compelling characters. It's dramatic. And there is some humor, and he executed brilliantly. So he's going to use that concept in another story for somebody else somewhere at some point, or for himself. Who knows? Anyway, so as the script, then he got to the point where the script was fully written. I was able to approve it, and then as we had the script done, that's the first half of the ash can. The other half is you give it to the penciler. And now, as far as picking the penciler, he came to me through an agent who was working out of Spain with a lot of really cool Spanish artists that also were working for a variety of companies, the Marvels, DCs, IDWs, whatnot. And sometimes an agency is a good way to find talent. But I would still say, like, you have to have conversations with them about what your budget is. You got to be right. And you have to also not take advantage of those guys because sometimes there are guys that are anxious for work. And they'll throw credit around and be like, well, pay us when you can. We understand. Like, you just got to be really careful with the commitments.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I have a lot of guys that I've had, I pencil and ink my own stuff. I work in a lot of different styles. This is a more cartoony style that I'm doing here, but
Sure.
Fine detail and all that stuff like that. So I try to find different colorists that I think can color each type of piece in this way that I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I've really come across a lot of really neat people. And then, they'll color a pinup for me. And then the next time I hear from them, they're working for IDW or they're got a Marvel gig or something like that. It's like, oh,
That's cool.
I have a good eye for talent. It makes you feel good. It's like, it's like, all right, well then obviously I know what I'm looking for. I'm finding.
Oh, you do. You do. I see how you put stuff together, Caesar. It's really good.
So, but that's a big deal. But you want to take care of these people, and so.
But there is another side of it. It's funny because it was funny because my editor, Kirk, would say, that's a good point, Adam. It was in the late 1980s. First of all, that Jim Shooter, who he doesn't get appreciated for, was the one pushing for creator rights at Marvel and royalties. And there was a thing where there was a Jack Kirby artwork thing, but I'll stick up for Jim on this, is that he's the one making sure that talent were getting royalties at Marvel because they weren't. And his feeling was if we get the best talent and they make the best books and they make a lot of money, they'll stay at Marvel. And that's where your Frank Millers and, I just can't think of names of John Byrne. John Byrne and Shooter fought all the time, but Byrne was making money thanks to Shooter because management didn't want to pay it back in the day. But the other side of it is creators' rights is important, but responsibilities are important too. So you have to have a really clear understanding with talent. And if you sent work out to colorists, you've seen like not everybody has your ethic in terms of delivering stuff. And sometimes people, either don't deliver, or they deliver late, or they deliver late with no reason, or they deliver late, with a good reason. But a lot of times it's like you really like the same thing with the writing. You have to really assess, has this person worked professionally before? And how did that go? And could you ask them for you don't have to follow up on it, but would they be in a position to give you a recommendation to tell you that, hey, yeah, this guy, Adam did the coloring on 100 pages and, he was a week late on a 3-month job, but the work was great. Anytime we had an issue, he, would address it. He would fix it. He was also patient with me with making changes, because you look at somebody's work, it's hard to understand, like, all right, can they sustain that? And also, you don't know what's going on in their lives. So scheduling is really crucial. If you're going to do layouts for me, let's say the layouts that are in the Ashcan, which are rough pencils, if you're not doing 5 pages a week, then there's no way you're working on my project. Like because how long, like if it's a 40-page project, even, let's say,
Right.
8 months just to do layout, 8 weeks to do just rough layouts.
Yeah, that's
That's
crazy.
too long.
Yeah,
It's
crazy.
I was talking to a friend of mine who's in the community too, and it was because anyway, I pushed advice on him, and then later he was like, "Hey, thanks for that advice about this or that." Sometimes you can break up. First of all, the scheduling is crucial, and it should be as routine as possible, and there should be good communication. So if someone's like, "Listen, I'm going to get married, and then I have to finish this other job first, so I can't really start on this thing for 3 months." Well, just keep in mind that's 3 months of your entire, publishing career or whatever, your entire project. Someone else might come up with something else that's competing. Things can't necessarily always wait 3 months. So you could feel bad, like not giving an opportunity to someone because they're not really available, but it's better to be honest with them and be honest with yourself and if you do things the right way, then you'll know people for years. And if the timing isn't right now, you've done this before, I'm sure, a million times, Caesar. You do something with them later, right?
Absolutely.
It's just good. You just build your network. And it helps you to keep your promises when other people are realistic with you and you're realistic with other people. So then after we got on the schedule, and Stefan was, again, he was such a professional. He was great to work with. I'd recommend it to anybody, although he's a little, I don't know that, suffice it to say, it was the last thing that we did together. I didn't have any new work from anyway. I don't know, with the election coming out, I'm not sure what side of the fence he was on with the 2016 election. Not 100% sure. And that shouldn't matter that much, but maybe it did a little bit, because I don't know, just some people in the comics industry are very offended if you don't agree with their politics. Let's just put it that way. I'm not saying he's one of those guys, but I don't know. I guess I'll find out. We already did College of the Dead 2. That's done, and it's ready to rock.
Yeah.
I just need to call the cover. But yeah, we'll see. When 3 comes around, of course, I'd ask him to do it again.
Yeah, I'm doing some of that stuff myself, with, listen, I served in the military, and, I'm a little bit more conservative leaning in certain aspects, and then other areas I'm a little bit more open-minded. I'm a Christian,
Cool.
and so when I look at at comics and how people are so polarizing and certain things like that, and then I hear about things that I saw in what was called the SJW comic movement. I was like, well, I don't really agree with that. I don't know why they need to do that. Then this whole Comicsgate thing came out of it.
Yeah, it's Comicsgate is just like, all we want to do is tell stories.
Well, yeah, and I get that, but it's like I have friends that I've worked with and worked basically on the ground floor of a publishing company with them, kind of looking at me like, you're with those guys? I said, I'm not necessarily with those guys. What I am is I like the concepts. I like the idea of that. And so
I gotta do my video about this. I planned to do it last week, but I did one video. It took me like 3 hours. It was a 20-minute video talking about on AdamEveryday.com. Also, AskBTucci.com, which is ridiculous. But anyway, I did a video on what that really is, what this SJW stuff is. And there's a lot of great links in my video. And what Comicsgate is it's the response to what the entertainment industry calls internally social impact entertainment. Social impact entertainment. What is social impact entertainment? What it is it is a measurable process to push political and social change. And it's measurable. So by measurable, meaning they know what they want to get out of it when they do it. And it has nothing to do with a good story. This has to do with a good way for them to achieve social and political objectives. And they can and do measure it going in. And I show multiple links to how they reference themselves, the basis for what's called, they call it the theory of change, but it's really a theory of constraints. So the theory of change is a measured process. It's got numbers. It's hard scientific approaches, the same way you would solve a scientific problem of saying, okay, well, how do we create a better lithium battery? You would go and do all sorts of wacky scientific stuff and write things down and do testing. That's what you do in the theory of change, which is the same thing as what's called the theory of constraints, which was developed in the 1980s. Theory of change is a political thing, and a social change vehicle developed in the 1990s. And this is cited directly, openly, next to social impact entertainment. So I did the video on it, and I got some good responses on it. But unfortunately, I don't have the platform, a super big platform in Comicsgate. So, a good 50, 70 people seen it or whatnot. I got great feedback from them. And yeah, definitely worth taking a look at, because you can read about the articles yourself. And then the other thing I do is I show, hey, in case people aren't aware, Valiant was bought out. This new Valiant was bought out by a Chinese film company with the express purpose of bringing Valiant properties into China, as well as, of course, the US and the rest of the world. Well, China has an incredibly strict system for what types of entertainment and media that they allow to be imported or developed internally. And it's not because of just a profit sharing, it's controlling messaging. So they have I think it's the word propaganda is in the term. It's like Communist Party propaganda unit. It's in the video. I don't recall off the top of my head, but everything goes through that. So they own Valiant outright. They control Valiant Stories. And you'll notice when Heather Antos went there. Now, I'm not saying Heather Antos is some sort of Chinese spy. I'm sure she's not. But she is there to push their agenda. There's no other reason to hire her. By the way, Jim Shooter is available. Someone has to write him a big check, but he's available. There are a lot of good people that are available. They're not looking to produce those kinds of comics. And I'm not just talking about Valiant. It's the majors. It's not Gail Simone. Gail Simone, like, there are, like the Renfields, if you know the movie Dracula.
Mm-hmm.
They're the Renfields. They run around, yes, master, yes, yes. But they're not masterminding it. They're not the ones who make the big decisions. What happens is people of importance, people of authority say, look, we need to create better social change as role models for this. The scariest thing about social impact entertainment is that as you research it and you look at all the links I show you, you'll only see the similarities to how China controls their media internally in their country, their communist messaging approach of propaganda. You see very few references to the face of it, which is really the social justice warrior, the diversity. They don't even talk about diversity and representation. They talk about political and social change.
Yeah. Well, funny. I remember growing up, and I remember gosh, really early on. All right, I was a poor kid that grew up in the inner city,
Sure.
and I used to watch TV and stuff like that. But I could just remember it was probably like around the late '70s. Walter Cronkite was in his heyday, and I'm sitting there watching this guy, and I said, well, he has a great delivery. But then I would see the way that things would be reported, and all of a sudden, I don't know where it came from, but this huge bullshit meter all of a sudden popped in my head at the age of 14, and
Wow.
it's been there ever since.
Yeah.
And every time I see anything on TV reported, and it drives my wife nuts because I'll be watching a movie and with my son, and they're getting really into it, and I enjoy watching movies, and then there'll come a certain part, and like, oh boy, they're messaging right now to us. They're like, what are you talking about? This is just a movie. No, you don't realize a whole
Yeah.
lot deeper than that.
It's really not. You might want to torture her with some of these links of mine in that video. So you check it out later. You can torture her with a few things. Look, I was just talking to Adam. He did spoof comics. Okay, just look at these links. Like, all right. You found another guy like you, but it's true. The narratives are too valuable to them because the story is the reality. It's. I'm not sure how many years, but when I was doing the comic book companies back in the early '90s, it really occurred to me that we really have no limitations against us. We can really do anything we really, really are driven to do because there's no conspiracy. There's no like, well, we're going to stop you from doing this, and there's someone sitting there preventing you from doing something or whatever it is. Just like you could always quit a job. It might be hard, but you can always quit a job and go do something else if you really want to. But just to really understand that this is an amazing country where we have tremendous, tremendous possibilities, and everything that you could want to indulge yourself and passion to try to follow. It's amazing that we can actually do it in this country.
Yeah.
And that's the thing for us to really treasure and to appreciate because it's not that way in other places. But yeah, I mean, ideas are so freaking important because if you think about anything, even if you look in front of you, like your computer, before your computer existed, it was somebody's idea. Like the high concept we were talking about before. It's always an idea first. A chair is an idea. An exercise bike is an idea. A TV is an idea, a version of a TV. I'm not even talking about an invention. Just literally every physical execution of everything around us are all independent ideas and thought of by one person. So, can one person's idea change the world? That's the way it always is. It's always one person decides, you know what, this is kind of interesting. And that's the other part, decision. The conviction to go and change the world is the decision based on an idea.
Right.
And that's why you should get College of the Dead. No, College of the Dead is part of that.
No,
It is part of that, man. But you understand where I'm coming from.
yeah, no, I really and listen. I enjoy going off on tangents like this because listen, I think that the more that we understand and know how to observe things that are before us, the less likely we are to get tricked. Because say what you will about the techniques that popular culture uses, they're freaking good. All right, they're really know what they're doing.
They're better than good. They're better than good.
It's almost like magic. Okay, and
you're a little familiar with Santeria.
Oh yeah, and so you have to be able to see past the illusion. But the problem with that is that it's hard. Okay, it takes effort because once you see past the veil, which is what Shango is in a certain respect.
Yep.
That's why I called it the broken veil, because here's a kid, all right, through a curse that's released when his mother sings this song on this album, okay, and he gets attacked, or he's getting ready to be attacked.
So she's singing this song, and it's a song that she should not have been singing?
Should not have been singing.
Okay.
Okay? So, like I said, there's a personal, real-life story involved in that, and I will share that at some point. And so here we have this kid who can now.
You know, it's funny because as soon as you mentioned Shango, and then I'm like, you know, I didn't know you even at that point. And I was like, just make sure you're showing reverence to the saints. I've seen some stuff too, you know.
Oh yeah, no, it's not. It's. Listen, once you see on the other side,
Yeah.
you can't unsee.
Right.
All right. You and for people.
You happen to sound about 20 years younger than you should, by the way.
What's that? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Not that you don't sound you sound youthful for a reason. So.
Yeah. Well, I've got a love for life, and
Yeah. You're doing
I'm older than you. You know, I'm 54, but you know, I have a lot.
54?
Yeah.
You do rituals. Come on, man. No way. I know someone just knew someone. All right. You know, you do it. You do right, and you're good people. And it's a pleasure to know you. But let's just tell people there's always a way to live life better. And there's always a way to show reverence to religion, to higher powers, and you have to respect. And if you respect, then you get back. Right?
Exactly. Listen, you don't play around with dark and evil things because it's not a joke. You don't play around and look into the other side and then act like you didn't see it. Okay?
Yeah, 'cause it sees you, right?
Yeah, it sees you. Once the other side sees you, okay, it's done for. So you have to do something in your life to build a hedge of protection around yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so over the years, I have done that. All right. You know,
You don't have to talk about it if you don't want.
I mean, I can
Talk about it. We can talk about it later if it's not live.
When I was young, okay, when my eyes were opened at a young age, very much like Ruben's, okay, I was able to see a lot and I experienced a lot. So when I see comics, and Doctor Strange was actually one of my favorite characters growing up.
Wow.
And there was a certain thing that he did that was part of his power set that I've done twice in my life. And somebody walked me through it. Okay, it was of all things, on a bus drive through New Mexico when my mom was moving us all out to California for a while, and these two people, I saw them and sitting down, but I saw them and they saw me and they started talking to me and they mentioned a couple things and said, "Have you tried this? Can you do this?" I said, "Yes, I think I can do it." All right. So I did the thing.
How old were you?
I did it twice and I've never done it again because I just didn't want to tempt. Okay. You got to be very careful when you're playing around in these sort of things. You know, that's why.
To people who don't know what you're talking about at all, and I know some, I don't know all, but to people that don't understand what you're talking about, for other people, it's like, imagine playing with a Ouija board 3 days straight, even when things start getting weird. That's kind of what we're talking about. You're really like opening a door.
Yeah.
And if you think everything is what we learned in high school, you know, it's not. The world is bigger than high school. And there's a lot going on in the world. You know, it's funny. It reminds me of a conversation I was just having the other day with, I don't know if you may have been on. I don't know, man. There was the Red Gaze dude. And then there was, yeah. So, you know, there's your neighbor's house is another world. There's all sorts of things going on. You don't even want to think about what's going on there, but there's things going on way beyond that. Anyway, sorry to interrupt, but just so it's relatable to someone like, what are these guys talking about?
Yeah.
You don't want to know what we're talking about. You ever see the movie The Believers? HBO?
I can't. Geez, no, I don't think so.
Oh, you would like it. You would like it. Santeria and some other cool stuff in there.
I know that they did where I did see some of that. You ever see the show The Magicians?
No.
So the magicians are about real life, like quote unquote magicians. All right. And it's a little twist, a little dark, but it was like all magic has a cost and a price. All
Yeah.
right. And so when you start playing with these forces, but I remember, I think it was like in season 2 or 3 where they brought out like Santeria type of things. Okay. And it was kind of weird, kind of funky. And the way that they did it, but it was really evil. But listen, there's a lot to the paranormal world. I call it supernatural as a Christian person.
A catch-all.
And so I believe that there is something there. All right, because you can't say, oh well, I believe in evil, and then disregard that there might be a higher power of God. All right, now I call him God. All right, Yahweh, but other people call him higher power or whatever, Allah, or whatever. All right, but everything has a balance. So there is an evil. All right, and because that evil is on this world, there are people that have seen it, and you can tap into that. But do you want to? All right, it's almost better to just take the blue pill in a certain sense, because once
to me, the difference between good and evil is values. And we see some of that in our country now, where there are people that go to work every day, they do their thing, but what they believe is right and wrong is vastly different from what you and I probably believe are right and wrong. So good is a set of principles. Evil is another set of principles. And for the evil, there are a lot of things that are acceptable to them that are good as far as they're concerned, because there's nothing wrong with it. But, because it's all about, like, do you believe in creation or do you believe in destruction? I'm certainly not talking about abortion, but it's a metaphor, do you believe in the individual, or do you believe it's better for everyone to have the same and not praise the individual? So those principles really will, define good and evil.
Right.
I don't see evil as a red guy, a giant red guy in a in hell in a hot place necessarily. I just see it as, wow, there are people that really, like, they do horrible, unspeakable things, but it's part of their normal. So yeah, I mean, it's how could you say it's not everywhere? It is everywhere. Good is everywhere, and evil is everywhere.
It's what you do with it, because one is a power unto life, and the other one is a power unto death. But yes,
how much do you value? If you don't value the individual, and really, like, if you're not an individualist, you're like, every person has their own sovereignty. Every person is entitled to their own things, their own rights, to own their own property, and is required for that ownership to be responsible for themselves. Really anti-socialist type of approach. That's valuing life. But you can't take an attitude like, well, if there are 10 million people and half of them die, well, there's still life because 5 million of them are alive. No, that's not good. We don't look at it like that. We look at it like every life is precious. And not, again, this is not a statement on abortion, a political thing either. It's just the individual has incalculable value, not just, we'll always just get another person and whatever. It's like a donut, one of the donuts falls on the floor, just go get another donut. Like, no, that's not human life. That's not what we're talking about.
Right. And back to your point that you're making about the social and cultural engineering, it has really tainted a lot of people's views, and so some are more easily susceptible to belief of what they see than others, and there's different levels to it. So you wonder yourself, well, how can this person who seems otherwise to be a fairly sane person have this completely twisted view on such and such? Okay. and it's really head scratching, you know.
But it's like, you've had a corrupted hard drive before, right? Where it's just like, hey, 20% of this hard drive is shot. I can't put anything on it. And that's kind of how I look at it, is like, all right, well, yes, they're a functioning person basically, but when it comes to this and that subject, they're completely fragmented. It's corrupted. It's unfortunately it's a sickness. It's a mental sickness. Because for people to have balance, there's certain things that are very simple that people, want to do biologically, and they want to do as part of a family. It's just absolutely normal to want to just do those things. And there really isn't, if you're functioning in a family unit, if you're the dad or the eldest son, or you're the mom or the daughter, or if there are two dads, okay, fine, whatever. But you have a role, whatever the family role is. You're not just like four, if it's a family of four, you're not just four equal human beings. There's a hierarchy. There's a whole sense of different people have different roles. And they can nowadays, you want to work, the mom does this and dad does that. You have to be a working unit, like a team, however you work it out. So mom works, dad stays home, if that's the case, whatever, doesn't matter. But like the books have to balance, the money has to come in. Normal things have to happen. People have things that they want to do that are normal. They socialize and do other normal things with people. But yeah, if people find themselves doing bizarre, non-normal things, that's not good. That's a sickness. It's a mental illness. There are things you're not supposed to be doing, like whatever, just depraved, crazy shit. Excuse the language, but yeah, people just really don't know. But I think there's also a great enlightenment. I think that people will come out of the haze that they're in. But I will tell you this much is, and I found this from personal experiences, you can have love for everybody, and you should. And you can have kindness to show to everybody, and you should, to the extent possible, being personally generous with people, being enthusiastic, encouraging people. To me, the two big things in the world are enthusiasm, which is why like every video, every conversation is always with me. Hey, how you doing? It always starts that way.
Right.
Because I want people to know I'm happy to see them. And if they're trying to do something, I'm going to encourage the hell out of them. And if I can help them, I'm going to try to help them. Those are the two things that like I know I could do for everybody. But some people are sick, and some people carry a lot of negativity. And you could give them a little kindness, and then you got to go the other way. That's just kind of the way it is. We're not. It's not our place to go, healing the masses. That gets to a religious level. But if we can go and just show that everybody can appreciate that kindness, they really can. And I've had people, like I did that in a supermarket once. I made somebody's day, and I remembered it now even for years. And it was just some other person who was shopping, and she's like, "That was so nice." It's just whatever it was I said to her. I don't know. It was just or it was funny or whatever it was. Just bring life wherever you go, and you're doing right.
Well, there's definitely a lot to be said, because there's so much negativity out there. There's a lot of power in positive reinforcement. And so, I'm a manager, and one of the things that I feel that are one of my strengths is that, and not just in my work, but just in my personal life, is that I try to encourage people, and I tell people all the time that they're capable of more than what they believe. And one of the greatest joys that I have is people that come up to me. Maybe I haven't seen them in a while, and they'll say something to the effect of, "Man, Caesar, you may not know this, but back such and such, you said this thing to me, and I really took it to heart, and it's changed my life. And this is what I'm doing now. This is where I'm at." And you know what? that's like gold to me. You know, I really enjoy that, and knowing that that this person took a personal interest in their own life to enact change for themselves. You know, because, and you mentioned this earlier, is that the only thing that can hold you back is yourself. Um, and I think, or something to that effect that you said.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Like there is no conspiracy.
there's no conspiracy. You can do you. All right. I mean, one of my favorite comedians is um, Kevin Hart.
Okay.
And one of my favorite sayings that he says is that, you know, people ask him for advice and stuff like that. And, you know, he gives them some advice, but he said, but in the end, you do you, boo boo. Okay. So, you know, you're in charge of your own life, of what it is that, you know, this life is going to give you exactly what you want out of it. Okay. And I know that just from personal experience. Like I said, I grew up in the hood. I know what it's like to be dirt poor and not have anything. And I also know what it's like to have. And so when I see people that are creators that want to take advantage and take control of their own art career or whatever it is, and say, you know what, I want to put a comic out. All right. I want to put out College of the Dead.
Yeah.
I did it for 30 years, did it, and you know, haven't done anything in a while, but you know what? I want to do this right now. And you know, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna do it. I want to do it, and you just do it. You know, there's a lot of people that have done that. The samurais and dinosaurs guys, for
Yeah.
one. You know, though they're really neat comic. I liked it. It was funny. It looked funny to me. I said, you know what? I'm gonna support this guy because this person really looks like they're interested in putting this fun thing out. And there's a whole lot of other projects that I've backed. You know, so when I see people that are taking charge of that in their life, I really get a kick out of that. You know, and I like to see, you know, where, you know, how are they going to succeed. So like Von Klaus with his Monster MD, he had no idea that was going to do what it did. He said it's a good concept, but
Again, you want to check out. I'm trying to go overboard with this, but you want to check out AdamEveryday.com, because I did do a really good interview with him, and I would say it's probably his best interview if he's done any. I mean, he's had conversations with a couple of guys I've seen online, but we spent like an hour and a half talking about his background and, you know, why Monster MD. You know, and one of the things he said was like he just turned 40. And I was like, oh my God, yeah, I'm 49. I'm past it. You know, I'm past the whole, oh my God, I'm 40 years old. You are too. But he's like, I can't screw around. This has to happen. So Vaughn is like out there hustling hard and pushing hard, like hour after hour. Every extra dollar he does on Monster MD, you know, is saving his life. You know, not just that he doesn't need the money, I don't think, to live. But he needs this project to be his big project. And he has other things he's planning to do, he had said, and I'm sure they're also going to be great. But he's like super, super passionate. And it's a great high concept. That's what we're talking about high concept. Like that high concept gets you. You know, it's really, really good. And then as we were talking, it's an Evil Dead style property as well. Horror and humor. Which is, you know, very cool.
Yeah.
So he's a great guy in that his enthusiasm's good. He describes his project well. It's a beautiful looking project. I think he's up to 110 pages in color now. And he's willing to do whatever it takes, I would say, without stepping on people, because he doesn't seem like that kind of guy, to get his project out and make it right and get it out. So, yeah, I agree with you. He's definitely worth backing, because you want to see more from him. But there's a lot, you know, it's great to see the energy, and you see now too, because we're in some of the same groups on Twitter. Everybody's helping each other. You know, I had someone help me redo some of the graphics for College of the Dead, like we added extra blood spot behind the College of the Dead cover. Because look, when I did College of the Dead, I planned to have my YouTube channel up and running and having, more activity on it, to build the audience for what I was doing. Cause it's one copy at a time that you're selling this stuff. It's not like we did back in the day, but I didn't have time to do it. So I was going to delay launching College Ed. I'm like, I'm not going to delay launching anymore. But I did pick a goal that was too high for a first project because it wasn't necessary. Because the way the algorithm works, you really just want to fund. Whether your goal is $500, whatever. Especially if you don't need the money. I don't need the money to print it. Really. So my thinking in terms of the numbers was, it was within the budget to then really get into the College of the Dead 3 because 2 was also done already. So there was a reason and a justification for doing it. But to the extent that if your project loses momentum, that it will affect the overall success of the project is absurdly dramatic. And Indiegogo, it will almost hide the project rather than promote the project if you don't have activity on it. So it's better to just really go minimum on the goal and then hit that goal fast. Like day one, really should be funded day one. To line those backers up in advance as much as possible. And then the algorithm will treat you right. And you don't get people that look at your goal and be like, oh, the goal is too low, I don't want to back it. Or you don't get really people that look at it and say, oh, he doesn't need my money, so I won't back it. Like, people are interested, they'll buy it.
Right.
And then you go to Kickstarter also after that. There's a lot of cool stuff that you can do, though. And I've learned a lot. And that's the other thing is, until you launch it and then you get talking to other people and you see what works and what doesn't work as well, there's so many cool things that people can do, like, doing 10 copies of the book, because sometimes people just want to support you a lot. Apparently, like on Kickstarter, you could donate money and I guess get nothing in return. I don't know if you can even do that on Indiegogo. But if someone wants to just give you $100 or $1,000 because they believe in you or your project, you can do that on Kickstarter. I don't believe you can do that on Indiegogo. Maybe you can, and I'm just wrong, but I don't think you can. But it's great that they have the flexible goal so that you do get paid, towards what you need to go. And even if you have a smaller success, you can still deliver. But yeah, I mean, look, you're passionate about your project too. And I like how you pitch your project. You pitch my project very well. And you also, I don't know what you got going on over there, but to get Ethan to be taking over for you the one night that Ethan is taking over for Crowdfunding Comics, he's not doing it on Thursday, the day that I was scheduled for. He's doing it on Wednesday, one night only. And you're going to be on Crowdfunding Comics, which means he's going to retweet you. He's going to love you. And he's going to probably have you back on his show as well. I'm not necessarily for sure, but
no, and trust me, when I saw that, I was like, holy crap, okay.
You could, yeah. Billy is great, and he's a love, and I'm gonna just do it with Billy, But
I've known Billy for a while, and I'm a fan of his work. I remember seeing him when he was first putting out the She book in New York Comic Con.
Mm-hmm.
I was there as a guest myself. I actually remember seeing Ethan there with his Frog comic.
Oh, wow.
And Jimmy Palmiotti was there with Ash, along with Joe Quesada. And I remember seeing the Evil Ernie guys, Brian.
Wow, Brian and Steven.
Yeah, right, exactly. And then Lisner.
Joey. Yeah, Joe Lisner.
Yeah, Joe Lisner was out. So I remember seeing all these guys. We're talking about early 90s. And I'm at this same show with these guys, and it's like, this is cool. I was just a kid. I'd just been out of the service not that long.
Wow.
Maybe I was around 23 years old or so. But and I was just like, this is incredible. The comics are awesome.
Yeah. There was a lot of energy, a lot of exciting stuff going on back then.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So, hey, I'm done. Little quick cartoon piece here.
Works good.
Yeah, thanks. I tend to do these cartoon things because they're quick. All right.
Yeah.
When I do my draw streams, but I just want to give a big shout out to you, and I love the conversation we had tonight. It was really awesome. some of the subject matters that we touched upon were great. Maybe
I always like. I gotta keep bothering you about what you know about the religion or not.
Well, I can go. Listen, we'll have to have a little tete-a-tete at some point here.
We'll do that on another night.
Yeah, because we'll do. If we do it in private, it'd probably be better because I don't want to freak
everybody out. We don't want to freak everybody out.
But yeah. So
no, it's a pleasure, man. I think you got a great thing with your book. You are exactly what the Comicsgate group needs. Somebody who's just passionate, actually a good salesperson, a good communicator, and supportive of everybody else, and I'm going to think of a couple other names to recommend to you that I think you would do, you have a couple of great interviews with, but I'm sure there's a Comicsgate group, Comicsgate Live group, that Ethan has, and I'm going to expect to be seeing your name in it on Thursday morning, because I know it's going to go really well when you get a chance on Wednesday night. So that's Wednesday night on Crowdfunding Comics at 9:00. We're looking forward to seeing you. I'm going to be on with them the following Thursday. They bumped me for when Billy's back in town.
Yeah, nice. That's awesome. So, Adam, just let people know how they can get a hold of you. And while you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and just put your page up on the screen here so people can see it.
Fantastic. So my campaign is College of the Dead. It's on Indiegogo, but you can also get there by going to collegeofthedead.com. It will redirect right there. And we'd love to see you back the book, whether you get just the book and or the book and the ash can. The ash can really, it's fantastic. You really can learn a lot about how books get together and how scripts are written. It's good to. Stefan is also a professor, and he does teach graphic novel writing to students.
Great perk. I'll be honest with you. That's probably the number one perk, and then the number two perk has to be that complete set. That's a great.
The full set is badass if it's in people's budget, but if not, it's really good to get the comic in the ash can. And if not, you just get the comic. I mean, eventually I'll offer these for sale again at some point. But for right now, this is how we're focused on getting it out. And then you can find me on Twitter at Comics We Love, because you always got to have the love, at Comics We Love, and on YouTube, a lot of cool videos on there. And I want you to see the Social Impact Entertainment thing. It'll freak you out. They do it openly, but it's in industry. It's like trade show stuff. We would not see it, but they know what they're doing. It's very well organized, and that's what we have to be if we want to fight it. Yeah. That's at adameveryday.com. We'll redirect right to my YouTube.
All right, that's great. So I want to say thank you to our guest tonight, Adam. I had a great time drawing zombies. I love drawing zombies. They're fun.
You're good at it.
And just so want to remind people that I also have a Indiegogo campaign, Shango the Broken Veil. So if you like some of the stuff that we touched upon a little bit here, we kind of touch upon these things here, and I think maybe on Wednesday night I'll open up a little bit more. So if you're gonna be around 9:00 for the crowdfunding comic stream, you might want to pop in on that, because who knows, some things.
You got to be there. The thing that happened tonight was Caesar's like, you know what? Adam's cool. Adam's talking about some of this magic stuff too. It doesn't. Yes, it's fiction, but it's not completely all fiction, and it's actually very interesting. And Adam can back Caesar up on this stuff. Is you don't know what's out there. You don't know what the world is out there. You don't know what people are doing and what results they're having. The good guys doing stuff, the bad guys doing stuff, and it's really, really interesting. And Chango is the big guy if you're going to be messing with people. Chango is where it's at for action. I'm more Allegua myself. I mean, I'm open doors and I'm having some fun. You know what I'm saying?
What do you know about Esu?
Well, Esu and Allegua is same, no?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
You almost embarrassed there. I'm messing up my Saints, am I? I hope not.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. You know what? And you got me available anytime for anything. And if you need me, you call me on anything. I'm happy to help any way I can. And I'm going to be looking out for some more help from you on things, I'm sure. But you're going to have an amazing Wednesday night. And you just think about how much you want to talk about. That's the thing. I think it really seems like a great book, and people got to really back it. I just always have like 2 questions about people's project. How many pages is it going to be, and when are you planning to ship it?
Right. So 56 pages.
Cool.
And the plan is to have this thing shipping in October, which will happen.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So the art is, I mean,
Can you deliver before Halloween like me?
that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get it. I'm trying to get it so that people get this stuff by the end of by around Halloween time.
Because the deal is this: is we do not want to be shipping, especially not between November and December, because it's Christmas. And people that haven't sent stuff around, it's
we're getting happy thoughts at that time. So
Christmas packages are all over the place.
Yeah,
you're going to be shipping, especially media mail. If you're shipping anything media mail, forget it. People are going to get stuff like beat up in January.
We don't want that happening.
No way. So we got to ship, both of us. That is our blood oath, man. We are shipping in October. We're going to get it done no matter what.
Exactly.
All right. Have a great night. And look, I'm going to see you more online. I wish you luck Wednesday night. And Half Speed Tucci will always back you up.
All right. Thanks again. Everyone, thanks again, once again, to my guest, Adam Post, and his wonderful campaign, College of the Dead. Make sure you get up on that. Thanks, Adam. And this is El Guapo, bringing beautiful things to the world and bringing beautiful people together. So
I just have one question. I'm sorry to interrupt because you're wrapping up. It's very rude of me to do this, but I just wonder, what is this? What is the Spanish translation of El Guapo?
El Guapo means the handsome one, or the beautiful one, the handsome one. It's more than cool, because cool sometimes has a connotation of this guy's kind of stuck up, but El Guapo is
sexy. Guapo is.
It's like something. It's like something. It's like good. It's like, it's something that can be given to others. Okay.
Are you trying to say guapo doesn't mean sexy? Come on.
Well, what can I say?
It means sexy. This is where it comes from. The guy knows his stuff. Okay. Buy his book. Buy my book. I apologize. You do your wrap up. I'll be quiet.
All right, no problem. All right, once again, special thanks to Adam Post, my guest tonight on College of the Dead. Make sure you check out that campaign and back it. And we'll be seeing you guys again next week. Don't know exactly who I'm going to have as a guest, but whoever it is, it's sure to be fun and it's sure to be beautiful. All right, thanks, everyone. You have a great night. Bye-bye.
Thanks, man.